Hello and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all doing well. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at another gaming PC called the IWN Scout. I've already done a review on one of IWN Industries PCs, which was their IWN Celsa. So if you want to go and check that one out, it should pop up in a card right here. Also, for those of you who are watching this video, IWN said that they wanted to help you guys out and give you guys a discount code for the Scout. So the code should be up on screen if you guys are at all interested. And one more thing, if you guys end up enjoying the video, make sure to leave a like and share this video with a friend. Also, if you guys want to watch more tech content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The first thing I want to do is give you guys a bit of a background about this PC and this company. The IWN Scout comes in at $800, and for that price, you're getting an Intel i3 10100, 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM and dual channel, Nvidia GTX 1650 Super, an ASRock H510 HDV motherboard, a 120 gigabyte Kingston SATA SSD with a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda hard drive. It has a 500 watt 80 plus PSU and an air-cooled Cylon RGB mid-tower case. The company that is making this PC is called IWN Industries. In general, they are a small gaming PC company that is trying to prioritize price to performance. While I don't have a huge customer base like iPower, the customers that they do have say that they like their PCs and have had little to no problems with them. They are a very professional company, they are communicative, and I think that they genuinely want to make a good product. They take criticisms to heart and try to improve upon what can be improved, and that's pretty much all I can ask for any company. I've never had one person complain to me about one of their PCs who has bought one, and I talk to these guys all the time, so I feel more than confident saying that these guys are 100% safe to buy from, and if anything goes wrong, they will bend over backwards to help you. Now that we got that all out of the way, let's get into the review. To start off this review, let's talk about the packaging and the shipping. Compared to the last PC that I got of theirs that I did a review on, the shipping in general has improved a ton, and they said you can expect this type of shipping on all of their PCs. First off, the PC was double boxed, and this is great because the last PC I got from them was handled pretty badly, which resulted in the back leg of the PC being completely shattered. Inside of the outside box there is a bunch of bubble wrap, an envelope that contains the power cord and a USB Wi-Fi dongle, and the PC box itself. The PC box has some foam inserts holding the PC in place. Once you take out the PC from the box, you can see that there is internal packaging. The internal packaging foam pretty much guarantees that things like the GPU and tower cooler are going to stay pretty much in place no matter how much the system ends up moving around. In general, I'm going to give the packaging of this PC a 10 out of 10. For the price point that this PC is coming in at, most companies would not put this much effort into the packaging of their systems. And let's be honest, it's a bit more fun for the customer to unbox. Now, one of the first things that I noticed when I tried to turn on the PC was that the case fans did not spin up. So I took off the side panel to see what the issue was, and the Molex connector that sends power to the fans was unplugged. All I had to do was plug it back in and the fans lit up and started spinning. Now, I want to take a second and talk about the cable management on this PC. Before I even got the PC, IWN told me that the cable management wasn't going to be great. Personally, I don't care too much about the cable management unless it affects the PC as a whole. IWN said that they pretty much had to force the side panel on because the cables were sticking out a ton. So when I got the PC, I kind of knew what to expect, but I wanted to see if I could fix any of the issues. It took about 30 minutes to do some of my own cable management, and while it doesn't look amazing, it does help me get the side panel on and off easier than it was before, though it still does take a bit of effort. I wish they would have taken a bit more time to make sure everything was the best that they could get it to it cable management wise, because most likely they wouldn't have had to try so hard to get the side panel on, and I doubt the fan power connector would have been disconnected. While they could have put a bit more effort into the cable management, there still wasn't a whole lot they could do, mostly because of the case. I'm not a big fan of the case they chose for this PC. While I'm sure the RGB light strip down the front is a big selling point, I still think that when it comes down to it, this case is more of a hindrance than anything. The back panel leaves no room for proper cable management, and there is no area for fan intake in the front of the PC other than the hole underneath the bottom of the front panel. I get that, especially at this price range this PC is trying to come in at, it's going to be hard to find a case that is going to be cheap enough to fit within that envelope. I have kind of looked around and saw some cases like the Phanteks P300A that is right around the same price range as the air-cooled PC case while having much better airflow and much better room for cable management, so that would be one of those cases that I would suggest. Now let's talk about the power supply. It is pretty much what I expected for this price range. It's a low-end 500 watt 80 plus thermal take power supply with no cable sleeving. For this system, the PSU is fine. I stressed this thing as hard as I possibly could, and I didn't get any sort of noise or random shutoffs from the PSU. Again, it's not that I have a problem with this PSU because most people aren't going to care about it, but I know that some other people probably would like to have something with a name brand or a higher efficiency and sleeved cables. Honestly, I think that just adding an option to upgrade the PSU, not just on this PC, but on every PC on the IWN website, should be an option and would pretty much just fix that issue. When it comes to the cooling of this PC, I think it's really good. They are using a pretty beefy tower cooler that has 4 copper heat pipes and a 120mm fan to cool the CPU. This cooler pretty much keeps the i3 10100 beneath 70 degrees C under a full load, and it should give you some thermal headroom to upgrade to an 11th gen i5 or i7. The cooling of the GPU is also really good. I love that IWN uses EVGA cards for their systems because even if you are buying lower end cards like the GTX 1650 Super, EVGA still does not cheap out on components. The card itself has a very dense heatsink, it has 2 fans and even a metal backplate. I've never seen this thing get up above 70C under full load. The case fans themselves I think are fine and are kind of expected considering the price point for this PC. They're just generic LED fans that use Molex power. They do not change color or ramp up and down depending on the temperature like most PWM fans do, but they do get the job done of having the lights and moving air through the system. If they wanted to take the cooling to another level, again, I would just say get a different case with a bit more room for intake and other than the small opening on the bottom of the case. The performance of this machine is pretty much what you would expect for a machine of this caliber. It'll play pretty much any game at 1080p high settings at 60 FPS. In some games like Warzone and Cyberpunk, you may get worse performance than that, but you can just lower some of the settings to make sure you hit that mark. The CPU itself is the i3 10100 and is one of my favorite CPUs to come out within the recent years. For $100, you're getting a 4-core, 8-thread CPU with great performance in most things. It could probably do some light video editing or photo editing if you needed to, though I wouldn't expect you to be able to stream at good quality on the system while playing games. You might be able to find some settings that you can mix to get it to work, but in all honesty, if you are looking to stream or make content, I would step up to the IWN Salsa. The memory itself I think is great. You have 16 gigabytes, so you should have more than enough to have a game open with a couple of other apps open in the background. I think that the RGB on the RAM looks pretty good, and I'm sure you could control it somehow with RGB lighting software, which I think it would do IWN good to pre-install that software on this system. The one problem that I have with the memory is that the XMP profile was not set up. The maximum memory speed that the i3 10100 allows is 2666 MHz, but the system had the memory clocked at 2400 MHz. It was overall easy to fix, but for users who have no idea how to get into BIOS or what XMP even is, it's going to be more of a problem for them. So IWN needs to make sure that they set these RAM sticks at the highest clock speeds that they can. The motherboard on the system that IWN sent me isn't going to be the board most of you guys are going to have on your IWN Scout. They're just trying to get parts, and I think that they gave me the first motherboard that they could. The one that they do end up sending out to most of the systems should have an open M.2 slot and some other stuff. But I'm not going to go over it since it's not the board that's in my system. And again, I just can't talk about a part that's not in my build. I do know that the board you are going to get isn't going to be anything top notch though. So just know that you're only going to have spots for 2 sticks of RAM and VRMs aren't going to be anything great. So just make sure that if you are considering upgrading your CPU that you don't get anything that uses too much power. Oh, and one more thing that I would like to add in here really quick is that every system that they ship comes with a Wi-Fi module, whether that be in the system itself or a USB dongle. I got sent a system with a USB dongle, but surprisingly, I was getting full download speeds on a 5G network, which has around 250 megabits per second. So for most people, you should be good when it comes to Wi-Fi speeds, no matter what kind of system you end up getting. The storage setup on this PC I think is great. The 120 gigabyte SSD is definitely a good choice since I do see some companies out there only using a hard drive for systems at this price point. The SSD keeps the system running quick, and it has enough room for the OS and a game or two, though I would suggest putting the games on a 1TB hard drive that the system comes with. Sure, the loading times are going to be a bit slower, but personally, I would only use the storage on the SSD for apps that I use every day and maybe my favorite game. For the price, I think that the setup with the storage is nice, but one change that I think they should make would be to just make an option to upgrade the storage. And again, like the PSUs, not on just this machine, but on every machine. Most of the time, people are going to have different needs when it comes to what they need to store on their PCs, so I would like to at least see an option on each PC to upgrade the storage. And that kind of brings me to my next point of upgrades. I think that IWN has some really solid systems at some really great price points. For the most part, prices that these PCs come in at and the components that they are going into them are going to be satisfactory for most people, but I think that people should at least have the option to pick things than just the RAM or the CPU. Everyone has different needs when it comes to buying a computer, so I think that making sure people have at least the option to pick and choose what components they may want is something that all gaming PC companies should have. I think that the IWN Scout represents a big part of the gaming PC market, and I can tell why it is IWN's most popular gaming PC. For people who are looking to get into PC gaming, $800 is what you should be spending. And right now, in this current climate, IWN is giving the best overall value for this price point. If you look at sites like Best Buy and try to look for gaming PCs within this price range, all you're going to find is cheap systems with GT 1030s or GTX 1050 Ti's. If you take a look at other companies that have previously been value kings like VRLA Tech, they have PCs that are $900 with overall worse specs than what the IWN Scout offers. I love this PC and what it represents. While there are a ton of other companies out there trying to make as much money as they can off of this environment, IWN is just trying to get their foot in the door with really competitive products. I would recommend this PC to anyone who wants to get into PC gaming and doesn't want to spend the crazy prices that gaming PCs are going for right now. I'm glad to see that within this market of complacency, there are a few groups out there that are still trying to do something new. That about wraps up my review, so if you have any sort of questions about this PC or if you want any advice, make sure to leave those down in the comment section below. I know that I'll be looking over them, and I'm sure IWN will also be looking over that stuff as well. Also, if you did end up enjoying the video, make sure to leave a like on it and share it with a friend. If you want to see more content like this or just overall tech content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to come and watch one of my videos, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.